The chanting is always soothing, especially for members. Okay, so we will do a quick recap and then we can start verse 7 to 13. So, Rajesh, everything is recorded, right?
Okay,
Please
it
do
is,
all
yes.
this. Okay.
Yeah, that started as a start.
Okay, so we started chapter 1. We covered verses 1 to 6. So the first verse was an instruction to understand what is happening with me, what is happening around me, and what is happening to me. Most of the times I'm complete means I might be aware of what is happening to me, but what is happening inside me, right? If a thing happens, how am I taking? Am I taking it positively? What exactly is the values that is driving me? And how am I relating with others? That is completely unknown to me. As a result, what is going to happen? I will just randomly interact and often get into troubles. So this is a problem that is there from the time of Arjuna, and that is a problem that is going to be there throughout the history of man. As long as there is a human mind, this problem will be there. So this was the problem we talked earlier. And typically, we are not aware of this problem. We are not aware of this problem, what is happening in and around me. So this problem was the question of Dhritarashtra. So Dhritarashtra was asking Sanjay, what is happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra? So we saw the symbolism of Dhritarashtra and Sanjay. Dhritarashtra represents our blind mind, and Sanjay represents an honest, impartial introspection. So Dhritarashtra asked Sanjay, what is happening? Or the blind mind. Typically, the blind is the mind is blind to myself. My weakness, my mind is always blind. I always extra conscious about the weakness of others, but I always blind to myself. So here, if the Gita has to start, the mind has to do an introspection. The mind has to do a clear understanding what is happening to me. The stress I experience, is that genuine? The worry, anxiety, or the anger, or the frustration, everything I experience, is that real? Or is that just a feeling of my mind? And what is guiding me? What is driving me to act? What is my motivation? Who am I? That is completely unknown to me. So it is an introspection. It is an introspection to know myself. So that instruction is given. So Sanjay, true to his name, he started an honest analysis, and the honest analysis revealed something. And he found that Duryodhana, the leader of the Kaurava forces, approached his teacher, the teacher of both Kauravas and Pandavas. Who is the teacher? Drona. He approached Drona and asked and started discussing something. Who is Drona symbolically? Drona symbolically represents the habits. The habits is the trainer of both goodness and badness in me. And we talked a little bit about the habit, right? What is habit? Initially, I started doing something, and over a period of time, what happens? I cannot escape from that. I started drinking soda 1 day, 2 day, 5 day, 15 day. After 3 months, I cannot escape without soda. And if I start doing a good habit, like if I get up at 5 o'clock and do exercise, after 1 or 2 months, today somebody was telling me, without that exercise or meditation, they feel that their day is not started. So the habit can be good or bad. So here, the leader of the negative forces, Duryodhana. Duryodhana represents, what is the literal meaning? One who is difficult to be conquered. Ayodhana, Duryodhana. Durya, Dur plus Ayodhana. It is very difficult to conquer. It is the passionate, material passion. It is not the liking. Means material likes everybody has to have. Everybody has to have a dress. Everybody has to have a watch. Everybody has to have a laptop. Everybody has to have a car. But if I am obsessed with that, that is the problem. See, the Tirukural talks about a lot about this, the obsession. There is nothing wrong in liking, but when that liking becomes an obsession, even to the children, you have to love your children. But when that love becomes an obsession, that happens to all the Indian parents, right? After the schools here, that is what we hear. In all the counseling centers, that is exactly what you hear. The parents comes and cry. Why? Because of that obsession. So Duryodhana, the material passion, which is an obsession, get hold of Drona, habit in his side. And then from verse 3 to 6, he said, I see a good number of positive forces, Pandava forces here. He started enumerating the Pandava forces, right? Led by Drishtabdimna. Drishtabdimna represents the intuition. And the Pandava forces has a lot of good warriors, equally competent as Arjuna and Bhima. So the love, the empathy, the compassion, self-control, the calmness, good memory, love for the family, all these things are inherent in even the most criminal has these values, but it won't come into the surface. That's the problem. Everybody has some goodness in them. That is the beauty of Mahabharata. Again, I talk, right? In Mahabharata, every character has some goodness and some badness. That is why Mahabharata is considered as a real world scripture. Even the real bad person has some goodness in him. Means you can see Duryodhana exhibiting some good character to Karna and to some other people. And even the best person, Yudhishthira, has to say a lie. So that is there. That is the human nature. And in the self-introspection, you found a lot of goodness in you. And that goodness is good enough to take that human being in the forward direction. So that much we saw. So let's see the next verses. Any questions? Again, I told, see this as our problem. Try to see that good values in you. Each one of us, when you introspect, you can identify some 10 good values easily. You have love for your children. You have fearlessness. You have compassion. You have empathy, kindness. So identify the kindness in you. Identify the empathy in you. I'm going to give you a set of meditations later, connecting with chapter 1, because without that you cannot, this will be Arjuna's problem only. So we have to come back to that, right? So we talked about it.
Yes. Yeah. In the Mahabharata,
yeah,
the good forces win over the evil forces ultimately.
Yes.
So since we are talking about our analogy with life and
yeah,
Mahabharata, what can give us confidence that in our lives also the
hold on to Krishna? Hold on to Krishna. Krishna is what? Your intelligence guided by the spiritual wisdom. That's it. Don't take material Krishna, but Krishna was the X factor. If Krishna was not there, the Pandavas would have defeated completely. So Krishna, identify Krishna as, means in the next week, that is what I'm going to talk about, the analogy of the chariot. Ratha Kalpana, which comes from Kathopanishad. What is the analogy of Krishna, Arjuna, and chariot? I'm going to talk about that. Next week, I'm going to spend the whole week about 10 verses from Kathopanishad, which is going to exactly answer your question. 2 snapshots is given. When the horses are under control, when the horses are not under control. This we'll see. But Krishna is the expert. So let's see verse 1 to 7. Listen to the chanting first.
भवान् भीष्मश्च कर्णश्च कृपश्च समितिञ्जयः अश्वत्थामा विकर्णश्च सौमदत्तिस्तथैव च अन्ये च बहवः शूराः मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः नानाशस्त्रप्रहरणाः सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः.
A quick word by word analysis, and then we will go to the literal meaning, symbolic meaning. Asmakam tu vishishtaye. Asmakam means ours. Vishishta means the special people. Tan nibodha vijotama. Please, oh teacher, please take a note of the key people, important people in our forces. In the previous 3 verses, he enumerated what? The important people in the other army. So now understand, please take a note of the key people or the important people in our army. Nayaka mama sainyasya samyartham tan grahivide. for your kind information, I am going to list the leaders of my army. And he uses the word Dija Uttama. Dija means what? Two is born. The best among the two is born. Everybody is born as a uncultured person. Through his actions, he refines himself, and everybody takes a next birth called second birth. So that is what is Bija, not a Brahman or anything like that. Please don't understand that. These are misinterpretations. So the best among the learned one, please take a note of the key leaders of my army. Now, so far I have enumerated the other army. Now, please take a look at your army or my army. And he said, Bhavan, yourself, you are a great warrior. Nobody can beat you. Then Bhavan Bhishmascha, Bhishma, the mighty warrior. Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha, Karna. Karna is what? Karna is another big, strong warrior in the Kaurava forces. Then Kripascha, Kripa, Sapitinjaya. Samitinjaya is another person, another warrior. Then Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama is your son. He's a very powerful warrior. Vikarna. Vikarna is Duryodhana's brother. He's another powerful warrior. Saumadatti Tataivacha. Saumadatti, the son of Somadatta, is another powerful warrior. So he identified a few people. And then he said, right, Anyecha Bhagava Shura, not just this one. There are enough people. There are also Bhagava Shura. Bhagava Shura means other people. Shura means the one warrior people, courageous people, strong people. Madarthe Yetta Jivitaha. What is the speciality? They are ready to even give up their life for my sake. Look at the ego. Look at the ego, right? For my sake, they are ready to even give up their life. Madarthe Yetta Jivita. And what is the characteristics of these people? Nana Shastra Praharana. They are well versed in the usage of various type of weapons. And Sarve Yuddha Visharada. They are well informed or studied with various type of war strategies. So once again, I'll show you the summary. So he tells, oh, best among the learned one, I would like to bring our competent warriors to your attention. I'll point out some of the leaders for your kind information. We have people like yourself, Bhishma, Kripa, Karna, Ashwatthama, Vikarna, and Purishrava. Purishrava means Saumadati. His name is son of Saumadatta is Purishrava. Who are they? The Pandavas were representing the positive thoughts and emotions, whereas the Kauravas are represented by the destructive emotions or negative thoughts. For your kind information, there is a brilliant book called Destructive Emotions. Have you heard of that book? It's a beautiful book. Destructive Emotions. It's there in our bookstore, like the library. PDF is there. You can read it. It's a wonderful book. It is a book jointly written by Daniel Goleman and Dalai Lama. This book talks exactly about the same thing in a neuroscience perspective. Dalai Lama gives a spiritual counter. But this is exactly the one. It is one of the bestseller. It is an excellent book, Destructive Emotions. So, and then he tells, we have several other warriors who are ready to sacrifice their life for my sake. And what are the speciality of these warriors? They are well versed with various type of weapons, and they are proficient in various type of war strategies. That's what the verse is. So let's identify what is the theme of this verse. Identify the negative forces. So don't think that I only have positive emotions and thoughts. Each one of us has negative thoughts and emotions also. So this is so identify them. Yeah.
This is already off topic, but as Arjuna's misbehaved on out of control. Arjuna's Vatha.
Yeah.
Has it gone out of control? Mahabharata war.
He was about to go out of control. Yeah, Krishna only helped him. Yes, multiple times. Sarar, if you go back to the story only, when Karna Arjuna fight is considered as one of the best fight. Like you can see a lot of good management lessons in between the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, Shalya and Karna, right? Shalya and Karna, Shalya was trying to bring him down every moment, and Krishna was trying to boost up Arjuna every moment. I told you the story of the lions, right? That was, and Krishna tells wonderful lessons about Arjuna. Sorry, one management lessons to Arjuna. He said, like, what is abhayam? Abhayam is not lack of fear. Everybody will have fear, but it is your ability to conquer your fear. So, if you're interested, there's a YouTube. Just go and listen one to the talk given by Navjot Singh on this topic. He has given a lecture in a university. He talks about the cricket, about the fearlessness, citing the cricket examples. So he said, like in the first World Cup, like he was supposed to be hitting, right? But he was under pressure. So he could not do anything, like he got out. And the second match, he went after the bowling. So how he was successful. He talks about Wakar, Sachin Tendulkar story, all stories. It's really, 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 really interesting. So this is the fearlessness. So this is Krishna made the difference. So the negative forces within, it's a fact. Let's understand that. It's a fact that each one of us has some negativity, some negative forces or emotions in us. You cannot deny that fact. And what happens? What is the speciality of these forces? In a critical time, these forces will try to bring us down. These negative emotions will try to bring us down. I'll give you one snapshot. Last week also we started elaborating that story. Tomorrow, you hear a news that your company is acquired by another company. Your company is going to be acquired by another company. Two people. If the first thought comes to me would be my job is at risk. We talked about what is risk, right? Risk is a known unknown. So there is a possibility that it can happen. And if that happens, that situation is not acceptable to me. After all, the children are about to go to school. It's not easy to find a job nowadays. So naturally, it's an alarm. How do you respond to that alarm? Two ways you can do that. One is what? If the negative worry and anxiety overpower me. See, this, I'm Raga. Raga is what? I'm obsessed to my job. I'm obsessed to my family welfare because job is indirectly dependent upon so much of my so-called definition of wellness. If the job is not there, I cannot pay the mortgage. I cannot do so many things which will impact me, which is a reality. You cannot run away from that. So when that raga comes in, what happens? Shoka comes in. Shoka kicks in, right? Worry kicks in. Anxiety kicks in. To a certain extent, that is needed. Because there could be some people who won't do anything. Krishna beautifully advises Arjuna, right? When you see a change, before that change imposes on you, you should be ready for that change. What a valuable lesson. In a different context, he tells, right? When one day the death is going to knock on your door, so better be ready. When the job is about to be changed, better be ready. Every year, do some preparation for your resume, to acquire some skills. Get ready. Make sure that you're up to date. Somebody was talking, right? The certification expert, because he thought that the job will go on and on and on. Be ready. I mean, especially in corporate America, any day could be a permanent job. It's not permanent. Everybody knows that. I don't have to explain that to you. So if you do that way, or okay, there is a risk. What do? You go and learn some skills, update your resume, start building network, starting that. On the other hand, if the worry overpowers me, what is going to happen? My ability to respond to the situation, who is spoiling? I am spoiling. This is the emotional intelligence we were talking in the workshop we were planning to do, which I have to do next month. We will do that. So And so this is what the negative forces and emotions are capable of pulling me down, not just from the path of my wellness, but even from the path of good. It forces me to take shortcuts. What is the path of good? There is two paths in the Upanishad they talk about it. One is the path of pleasant, and the other one is the path of good. The path of pleasant is ice creams and sweets and everything, and the path of good is the healthy food. I'm taking a very harmless example. The path of pleasant can be what? An unethical life. So what happens? These negative emotions and thoughts can pull me down from the path of dharma. Hopefully, dharma is clear now because dharma is not religion. Dharma is that basic rules of life each one of us has to follow for my own betterment. Dharma is not to please God. Dharma is for my protection. Dharmam talai kakum. Tirukural, right? We talked about that. Dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. That is the same thing. So this negative forces and emotions are capable of pulling me down from the path of good. And these negative forces are represented by Kaurava forces. Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. What does that mean? Don't think that it's an Asura. Hiranyaksha means what? Hiranyaksha is within me. Hiranya means what? Gold. The one who sees material value in every look and feel. He is Hiranyaksha. So where is Hiranyaksha sitting? Inside me. Where is Ravana? Inside me. Where is Rama? Inside me. So that's why there is a Ramayana called Adhyatma Ramayana. Adhyatma Ramayana, the whole Ramayana is happening inside me. So that is Vyasa's version of Ramayana. It's 5,000 verses, not the Valmiki version. Okay, so this is the problem with the negative thoughts and emotions. So these negative forces, just enumerating some of them: material passion, lust, rage, not the anger. There is a difference between rage and anger. Anger is okay. Without anger, you cannot live in this world. But rage means what? Yeah. So it's like speeding the car. As long as the car is within the speed limit and the car is in your control, speed is a blessing. If you think that, okay, if you drive the car in speed, you will be in danger, so you won't drive only in 20 miles per hour. You cannot live your life. So anger has to be there. But instead of 80 miles in turn per minute, 95, you take 160 miles per hour. You don't have control over the wheel. So when the anger turns into rage, what is going to happen? I lose my control. When I lose my control, life is gone. Lust. See, lust is not again, means you need to have emotions, you need to have love, you need to have every emotions. Lust means what? Again, obsessed love, rage, delusion, blind attachment. Blind attachment. Oh my God. So when I have blindly attached to you, right? Instead of me supporting you, I will be always trying to operate an agenda. Let's say that love attached, blind attachment is for my daughter. Then what happens? I want her to marry exactly the same person I want. I want her to go and study the exact. She might be interested in fashion designing, but I want her to study my subject. Of course, you need to understand that. Don't take it negatively, right? It is not that you should not tell anything because they may not have the maturity to choose what is right and what is wrong. So you have to guide them. But I have to look at myself and see: am I trying to impose my lust or extreme attachment? Not lust, extreme attachment there, or am I supporting them? That's the difference. Blind aversion. So we call it as vidandam. Because X said, so I don't agree. There are some people like that. Then, lack of verbal control. Some people open their mouth. Oh my God, if they physically beat us, that is fine. What is that Sanskrit name for that? Dushasana. Shasana means instruction. One who has no control. Or Dushasana is in me. When I lose control, Dushasana brings out. Duryodhana comes out when material passion and driven by material passion, greed, extreme pride, envy. Little bit it's okay because it will force you to work, but too much envy, arrogance, hypocrisy. Oh my God, hypocrisy is unbelievable. So some people, when they talk, you feel that the whole company is running because of this fellow. And if you ask this boss, he will tell the real story. Nobody else will take that job. I've seen that such cases. I'm not joking. These are some people when they say that, oh, even the boss cannot do anything without me. And when such people talk, just pay attention. Over a period of time, you'll hear only I. 16th chapter, you will see Krishna enumerating their characteristics beautifully. And you would see, okay, I know this person, I know that person. But he is telling that not because to judge other people, it is to look within yourself. Okay, that's a different matter.
So,
Yeah.
Rajji, the common thread I'm seeing in all of these courses is a little bit of it is okay, but too much of it is the
Absolutely
danger.
dangerous.
So, can we generalize and say that the real problem is not being able to control?
Absolutely, that's what it is coming to. That is what it is coming to. That is, you said it. The control. That is why yoga is important. Yoga is what? What is the definition of yoga? Literal meaning of yoga? Control. You missed that class. We had a one whole lecture on yoga, and unfortunately, my recording also gone. So we did an introduction to Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So the whole yoga is explained there. Okay, so this is okay now. So some facts. Usually, this is fine. You have both positive and negative thoughts and emotions in me. Usually, these negative forces in an average man is much more than the positive forces. And Krishna is not judging anybody, but usually this is the trend. That is why Kauravas are 100, Pandavas are 5. Kauravas had 18 Akshauhani of forces, Pandavas has. It is nobody's issue. That is how the world is. So there's nothing wrong in that. And then typically our ego, the self in me, or the so-called I, goes with whom?
Negative.
Negative forces. I-ness is the Bhishma. The habit is the Drona. Usually, the Bhishma and Drona goes with Kauravas, making them a very strong arm. And then what happens? These once the habits and this ego is nothing bad. Okay, again, I'm not talking ego is bad, not bad. Ego means my understanding about myself, whom I am, right? Or Nabji, or Rajesh ji, or Mahesh, or Sriram ji, or each one has an understanding about yourself, and that is could be a self or that could be a pseudo self. I think that okay, I'll be happy when my spouse is around me. I like peanuts. I like marathon, or I like movies. All these things are associated with that entity of yourself, which is called the I-ness. Don't want to use any word because Atma or anything like that, it could be completely confusing to you. So let's understand that I-ness, which is the most favorite personality of yourself. Your entire life is a struggle to propitiate that I-ness, right? To support that I-ness. I drink coffee because what? I like it,
I like it.
right? You come to this class because
I like it.
you like it.
Yeah.
You like vacation in Mexico City because I like it. So when that I and the habits comes with these negative forces, nobody can control. I decide, okay, instead of exercise, let me sleep. And over a period of time, that becomes a habit. And it is very hard. I decide, okay, it is okay to smoke one time. Even though I made a New Year resolution, I stopped smoking, but now it's almost 2 months. So let me, one is okay. I read the biography of a movie actor. He he was an addict in smoking here in California, Hollywood. So after he made a thick resolution and with a lot of difficulty, he was able to manage the smoking. Everything was perfect. And then one friend challenged him. Can you keep some bags of cigarettes in front of your shelf? So that's fine. I can do that. Okay. The disappeared cigarette packets started appearing in the shelves. And then somebody asked, can you have one? I said, yeah, one is fine. I can have one and I can stop. Fast forward 6 months, he ended up more chain smoker. So you can fall down at any time. These habits and these forces will pull you down. It will give an excuse. After all, okay, today I will compromise. Tomorrow onwards, I will start exercise. Procrastination. You can always say that that is a big enemy in, especially the healthy life. Always we procrastinate. Studying the scriptures, you always procrastinate. Doing what needs to be done, you always procrastinate. This is the danger.
And so Krishna can save us from even this.
What is that?
Krishna
Ah,
can save us from even this.
yeah. Yeah, Krishna.
Since you said earlier, like hold on to Krishna and you can overpower.
Yeah,
him.
yeah, absolutely. Krishna is going to help you to stay in the path of good, not the path of pleasant, right? So the whole Gita is a shift from what I feel to do to what I need to do.
Krishna is essentially your implementation.
Yeah, it's the Krishna is within us. Means don't think for a Krishna outside. Krishna is here. Krishna's teaching has to be. Now, when I say Krishna, it could be any master, like it could be Christ, it could be Allah, it could be Rama, it could be anybody, like any master. All the masters are one and the same. If you read every scripture, eventually it talks about the same. Okay, so we are going to analyze this topic more in the Vedanta class, which is the primer of a self. We are going to talk about that. Now, impact of these negative forces. Arjuna, the mighty warrior of Mahabharata, he was extremely successful. He conquered all these people multiple times, several times. At the time of the crisis, what happened? Fall flat. Second one, from the Bible. Adam and Eve, they were in the paradise. But with the temptation, they fall down. Exact same situation. And in the modern example, the chief of NASDAQ, he was arrested for fraud. All the modern time, right? Now Chidambaram is in jail. Why? He didn't have money. I'm not talking about a political person. I'm just saying that, see, it's not like Gene Wall Gene stealing little bit money for one loaf of bread. When these multi-billionaires do multi-billion scams, irrespective of the political spectrum, it's temptations. I don't know. Even I always wonder, the crores, the number of zeros, right? 5,000 crores, 6,000. What are they going to do this much money?
And especially Chidambaram's case comes from a very rich family. So
Is it? No.
yeah, well, that is what is intriguing for me because it's already one with
Everybody, yeah. The more rich you are, the more greedy you are. Meaning for money. That's it's okay.
I don't think it's a need. I think it's a habit. I think
It's
it's just a,
these forces will pull you, right? In something. This again, this when you study Gita, you may feel a little bit empathetic to these people because it is not even they are forced to do that. That is their habit. Even though they may not want to do it, they may be forced to do that. That is where this teaching is going. But the good news is that I heard Chidambaram is reading about Gita in the jail. Yeah. So hopefully that will be good. So these symbolisms, the symbolism Duryodhana means it is material passion. Dushasana means lack of control in speech. Shasana means instruction. Du means negative. So absolutely no control over speech. Then Bhishma, it is the pseudo self or ego. Drona means habits. Karna means attachments, extreme attachment. Kripa, delusion. Don't worry about these things. Just say that these are the negative qualities. And otherwise, we don't want to map it. Because if you want to do that, go and read Paramahamsa Yogananda's God Talks to Arjuna. He takes the Sanskrit word and he goes to Yoga Sutra and try to map every word with the actual character. But it is not required. Our goal is not an academic study. Our goal is to understand the negative forces are there, positive forces are there. That's it.
But how do you call karma detachment?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, I was
Okay, let's
talking
go.
about the loyalty, right? If you look at it, it's
Yeah.
being loyal to the person who helped him, right?
Yeah, but it is
But he was the one who would give up everything.
Yeah, no, that is the attachment, right? Attachment means you can give up everything, but he was not ready to correct the person when he was going out of the path of dharma. That is the only mistake of karma. Karna was perfect. Even knowing that he is going to lose his life, he gave the kavacha and kundala.
So not only that, he gave all this, whatever the benefit,
Yeah,
he got it by offering everything to him.
absolutely.
Krishna came under disguise and got that also.
Not Krishna.
Indra.
It is Indra.
Indra, sorry.
Indra,
Yeah,
right?
Indra came.
Indra came. Yeah, and he did that. He did that is exact. That is his dharma commitment. His commitment to dharma was perfect, but he didn't. He stayed with adharma. That is the only mistake, and
He was
he.
on the wrong
No,
side.
but that is also there is a reason behind it. Right?
Yeah.
Like Karna's life, if you take
Yeah.
for anybody's life, Mata, Pita, Guru, Deva. That's how it comes, right? I mean, Mata, Pita, and but Karna, if you take his life, all the four of these have been neglected for him. Like, if you take his entire story,
And that is
he was
exactly what
led by his mom.
Krishna tells at the end, right?
Yes. Father, Dronacharya didn't teach him.
Yeah.
I mean, in all
It's-
cases,
he had injustice every side.
correct, except for Duryodhana.
Duryodhana, yeah.
His
Yeah,
friendship.
so he was loyal. He was loyal, but he didn't do that, and that's why ultimately means if you stay with adharma, you will perish. But at the end, Krishna praises him. Correct. So praises him meaning when he was after the battle, he go and salute him. Initially, Arjuna was a little bit upset him, and then he scolded Arjuna and say that all these things right from the beginning, right? If you were in his position, what would have been your reaction? It would have been even lesser. He was telling, right?
Yeah.
So appropriate dignity is given, no doubt about it. Symbolically, it represents as an attachment. Attachment means whatever is the cost, right? The attachment for your child, this is what it costs. But over attachment can create problem. Over attachment can make you blind. Karna himself tells at the end to Kunti, right? My attachment from the loyalty makes me blind. So I cannot do anything. I have blind vision. And that's exactly what is represented by the attachment. Blind attachment. It's not means I can, as I said, like attachment to your child. It is very natural for you. But if you are obsessed with that child, maybe due to whatever is the reason, it will prevent you from doing what needs to be done, guaranteed. That's all. So we can go to the story. The story is not that important. We are talking about emotions. Let's go back. So this is done. And one more point. So this is the summary of these verses. These verses enumerate the negative forces in our mind. These are in a typical mind, they are larger in number, they are really powerful, and they can take over our mind. And when they take over our mind, what happens? We will move away from the path of dharma. When I say path of dharma, please don't think that you are moving away from the path of religion. Right? When these forces, when laziness come and hit me, I may not do my exercise. When I don't do the exercise, I'm deviating from the path of dharma, body dharma. Dharma means what? Doing what needs to be done, or doing based upon the cosmic laws. The body has certain cosmic law. It has to have 150 minutes activities. Period. So, is my laziness is that excuse in violating the dharma? You have the freedom to violate the dharma. What is going to happen? Who will get punished? The moment I violate dharma, I will get punished. Not by anybody else, not by a god, but if I don't follow the law, the simple thing is if I go and jump downstairs, what is going to happen? I will break my legs. If you complain to God, what happened? What is the God's answer? You jumped and you got it. If I put my finger on the fire will burn my finger. And if I complain to the God that the fire burned my finger, what is the answer God is going to give? You put the finger in the fire and you got burned. So it means whether I know the law or not, if I violate the law, whether it is the law of the body, whether it is the law of the mind. Law of the mind what? All this emotional hurt and all these pains you inherit, it creates problem. The emotional hurt is much more than the physical hurt. And most of the people don't realize it. I told you the story of one housewife who was talking to me very recently, and she was literally crying. And he said she was telling me that after coming to this country, she never had a chance to openly express her emotions. It was a big lesson learned for me at that point of time, because if anything you say, it will be judged. And once upon a time, when we were in India, you had this joint family or somebody is there to share. And here the problem is, if you share something, it is a problem. If you share something to a counselor, it may come into your medical records. Sometimes. Of course, you have to go and share. That's a different matter. Counseling is needed. In the modern time, counseling is needed. I'm not downplaying the counseling. But what I'm saying is that dharma has to be followed. And the biggest problem with these negative thoughts and emotions is it will pull me from the path of dharma. So let's go to the next page. So now, both the armies were enumerated. Now, what is the strategy of the negative forces? Let's see.
अपर्याप्तं तदस्माकं बलं भीष्माभिरक्षितं पर्याप्तं त्रिदमे तेषां बलं भीमाभिरक्षितम् अयनेषु च सर्वेषु यथा भागमवस्थिताः भीष्ममेवाभिरक्षन्तु भवन्तः सर्व एव हि
Beautiful verse. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma bhirachitam. I told about Sanskrit. It is a context sensitive language. So you can see two ways you can interpret this. Aparyaptam meaning what? Not enough. Or another meaning is what? Not countable, infinite. So he tells, my army, led by Bhishma, aparyaptam tadasmakam. It is infinite and large in number. It is not limited. Aparyaptam is also not limited. But Balam Bhishma Bhirachita, my force protected by Bhishma is large. Whereas Paryaptam Tijame Desham Balam Bhima Bhirachita, their army protected by Bhima, it is limited. On the other hand, you can interpret the other way. What? My army means protected by Bhishma is aparyaptam, not sufficient. Whereas the other army protected by Bhima is sufficient. If you combine these two, even though our army is large, it may not be sufficient. That's the meaning. I have a large army, but that army may not be sufficient to counter these positive thoughts and emotions. So, what is my strategy? The best, most powerful person in our army is what? Bhishma. So, ayameshu cha sarveshu yada bhagam avastita Bhishma mevavirachantu bhavanta sarvayevam. So, all of you, our strategy is as long as my ego is with me, no emotions, no positive emotions will take control over myself. If I decide, that is the decision. So, keep that I-ness, that ego alive. So, in the Mahabharata war, Duryodhana tells, as long as Bhishma is alive, nobody can touch Kaurava. Even Arjuna cannot fight with Bhishma. Bhishma, if he really wants, he can destroy anybody. Nobody, even Krishna cannot face him. It's that powerful, Bhishma. It's, the Parashurama and Bhishma got fight, and Bhishma, what? Parashurama could not defeat Bhishma. It's very powerful person. So this Bhishma is our strategy. So all of you station in appropriate position and make sure that Bhishma is protected. That is the strategy, right? So again, the lesson is, even though our army is large, it may not be sufficient. Even though their army is small, it might be sufficient. So our game plan is make sure that Bhishma is. So, okay. So negative forces, large in number, led by the pseudo self Bhishma, it is inadequate if the positive forces are determined. Whereas the positive forces, even though they are small in number, it is led by Bhima, which is the life force control. Because the life force control is very powerful. Whenever I have a stress, I can just take a few means when I control the prana, what is going to happen? Bhima is the son of Vayu. That is, life force control is what is Bhima. So Bhima can protect any army, and it is means it is adequate to control any negativity. So therefore, make sure that Bhishma is protected. So, what is the power of perceived self or the ego? Perceived self or the ego is my own understanding of myself. If the perception of myself is driven by the negative forces, it's very dangerous. And this powerful Bhishma, I put Mukesh Khanna particularly because the moment I hear Bhishma, Mukesh Khanna's mind comes to my mind.
Absolutely.
Right? That's a very, 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 his voice itself was so good.
Powerful voice.
Very powerful voice, and two characters like Duryodhana and Bhishma was so much into our mind. Any new technology or any new faces would not replace it. So the Bhishma, protect Bhishma. So make sure that this war can be won. We can win the war, take the control over the body, and keep with the passions as long as the ego is with us. So make sure that that ego is boosted and protected. Okay, so this is a very powerful motivational speaker in music. He is, if you're in leadership, you might have attended his talks. His name is Al Benken. I had attended one of his talk in MetLife. He was invited. So in his whole workshop, entire workshop is based on this power of this perceived self or ego. The gap between yourself and the perceived self. If your perceived self is different from yourself, which is more, the more gap is you have, the more problem you have. And the whole workshop is driven by the fact that these negative emotions connected with you, it will remove yourself from the original self, and that is going to create problem. And you have to pay thousands of dollars for attending this talk. This is exactly Gita. I'm just quoting one more example saying that a lot of these management training in the modern world comes exactly directly from here. If anybody is interested, I'll show you the printed materials of this workshop. It is exactly what we were talking.
How do you close that distance between the perceived self and the real self?
That's what the Gita is going to tell me, right? So, first of all, the self-analysis. Perceived self means I see myself as a different person. My understanding of myself is different. So, what you do is you take a 360 degree round of your analysis. One is.
But when you're doing that analysis, if you have a negative self-perception, let's say, then even that analysis is going to be negative. And it's
no, actually, the Gita is going to tell you first that what exactly who you are, right? Who you are, that nature is given, and then in a step-by-step process, you will use the Panchakosha model, you will use the three-body model to make you closer to that real self. So it's a step-by-step process. Means I'll cover a little bit in that emotional intelligence because it's exact. You will be wondering that emotional intelligence workshop for Daniel Goleman. How do you remove that negative self-perception? That is pretty much similar to what we are going to see here. So yeah, so that's the whole scope of the Gita. The entire scope of the Gita is to change that pseudo self-perception. So okay, this is yeah. So this is what it is. Okay, so this is one. So that's the next verse. So let's go to the 12th and 13th verse. So Bhishma.
Sanjanayan harsham Guruvriddha Pitamaha Simhadadam Vinadyochaihi Shankham Ratnau Pratapavan Tata Shankhaschta Dheyascha Panavanaka Gomukhaha Sahasaiva Vyahanyanta सशब्दस्तु मुनोऽभवत्
So Bhishma, again, Sanjaya is reporting the whole stuff impartially, faithfully, truthfully to whom? Dhritarashtra. Or my own self-analysis. My own self-analysis is telling my own blind mind, hey, you seems to have some love, some empathy, okay, some determination, some courage in you, but you also have no control, especially when you talk to your spouse. You have no control whenever it comes to eating. You have no control in spending money. You have no control in this, that, and here, there, etc. You don't know how to relate with people. So, and you don't seems to be happy always. So these things are presented, and then let me connect it again. Okay, so connect. Okay, so the self-analysis reveals all these things, and then typically self-analysis tells you take the side of what? Day before yesterday, the alarm rang. You promised to yourself that you are going to do the exercise. You didn't compromise. You thought you promised to yourself that it is not to negatively criticize you, mind you, like it's not to put negativity in you, right? Guilt in you. Yesterday you thought you will study an hour in your skill development, and then you thought, okay, anyway, after all, I'm tired, I'm sleeping. Okay. Yesterday your boss had a small issue with you, and as a result, you came and shouted at your child. These things I know, right? So, what is happening next? So, in the story, Duryodhana is speaking these things to Drona. At that time, Bhishma heard these things. When Bhishma heard these things, what did he do? Tasya Sanjanayan Harsham. He said, oh, this guy is just keep on talking. So let me do something. Tasya Sanjanayan Harsham. For Duryodhana's pleasure, Kuru Vruddha Pitamaha. Pitamaha means the grandson. Kuru Vruddha means the eldest in that clan. Simhanadam Vinachoti, Shankam Datmau Pradavavan. It's the mighty Bhishma. What did he do? He blew his. In a typical warfare in ancient India, how the war starts. So who started the war? Kauravas started the war by Bhishma blowing the conch. So then what happens? Then everybody started blowing conch. Pranavan la gomukhaha. So a great chorus from all the Kaurava forces. What did they do? They started blowing their conch, their kettle drums, then all these instruments of the war. In the war also there are a lot of instruments. They go with some instruments to cheer up the warriors. So all these people started blowing their instruments. And at that point of time, what happens? The whole war battlefield is reverberated with this noise. And what is going to happen? That scene was terrific. This is exactly what is happening in that. Have you ever visualized the critical situation you had to face? Each one of us had to face some situation, right? What would you feel? So many thoughts flying through the mind, and you don't know what to do. Have you ever faced a panic attack? I'm 100% sure each one of us might have, even though you call it as not as panic attack, But some panic attack everybody might have faced. Some depression everybody might have faced. Imagine that situation. You will see all these thoughts flying around, okay, left and right, you don't know. You think that, okay, she should have done this, or he should have done this, or I should have done this. Oh God, what is happening? Nothing is happening. So many thoughts comes to my mind, and I just lose my mind. That is the situation. So let's understand the psychological distribution. Typically, our ego or the self always try to pull and support our emotional goal. When the alarm goes up, what would be my ego typically does? Snooze. Or switch it off. 2, 3 times you will hold it and then switch it off tomorrow. So typically the ego supports this emotional goal. And what happens? The first thought, psychology call it as automatic thought. You can always go and do research. Or when a situation happens, the first thought comes to our mind is going to drive our decision. Because it's a domino effect. The first thought is going to trigger what? A next thought, a next thought, a next thought, a series of thoughts. If that first thought is positive, so the modern counselors or behavioral therapists will say, how do you develop in such a way that the first thought comes to you is always positive? For some people, a minor headache is brain tumor. For some people, even if it is a brain tumor, they take it the other way. So, what is the right attitude? The second attitude. But a lot of people tells me that I want it to be like that, but I'm not like this. So that's a technique we need to learn. This is one of the greatest technique in the Gita. Okay, so this one I can guarantee you that you can learn. This is a little bit of practice you can learn. If that automatic thought comes to your mind, it's a positive thought that is going to make a lot of difference. So what we are saying is that ego typically put an automatic thought whenever we face a situation. When Duryodhana was talking about this war, Bhishma blew the conch. That's an automatic thought. These automatic thoughts will trigger other thoughts, and creates a noisy situation in my mind. Think about the subjective aspect of the Mahabharata war. So let's see a little bit more on this. So, for example, if the automatic thought is I'm in danger and won't be able to cope it up. This is what the automatic thought. What is the emotion that comes to my mind? Anxiety, fear. Okay, I'm treated unfairly. If you feel that, that is the automatic thought comes to my mind. Anger, anger and frustration, right? And hopelessness, depression. So the key is that more than the situation. So if the pilot, when he realized there's no fuel, I have to land somewhere immediately. If that hopelessness was the case, could he have landed his flight in the Hudson River? Not at all. So the key is the army people get this training a lot. So how to develop in your skills in such a way that these automatic thoughts are always positive. This is an extremely important lesson. Again, we are talking only about the problem statement in the chapter 1. Please note that, because this is important to know for us to understand the solution. Okay, so, and the impact is what? These influx of these thoughts create restlessness in the mind, just like that Kurukshetra battlefield. And Bhishma blew the conch, what is going to happen? Everybody started blowing the conch, kettle drums, everything. The field becomes noise. And it creates an urge in the act, in the direction of that emotional pole. I don't care about what is in the future. There is a scientific explanation for this, which I'll talk a little bit later. So your thinking brain and emotional brain is there. Any sensory inputs goes to these two places equally. The thinking brain is known as what? Prefrontal cortex. And your emotional brain is known as amygdala. Have you heard of these terms? Yes. You'll see this in emotional intelligence class. So the same sensory input goes to both amygdala and your prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex analyzes the situation using a computing algorithm. And the amygdala assesses the situation with a pattern recognition. What is the difference between pattern recognition and a computing algorithm? Computing algorithm will be accurate, time consuming. 300 milliseconds it will take to do the computing algorithm of a situation. Whereas amygdala will take 3 milliseconds. So in that first 3 milliseconds, if the amygdala finds a danger, a sense of danger, what it happens? It will hijack your brain completely. This is known as emotional hijack. Emotional hijack. Please Google it. You will learn a lot. It's an emotional hijack. It's a very popular term in neuroscience. When that emotional hijack happens, you don't realize who you are, what is your dignity, what should I speak right now. It's a matter of survival. I will do completely contrary to my own dignity. And 80% of this emotional hijack in the modern world is false alarms. 80% of this emotional hijack in the modern world is false alarms. The reason is this emotional hijack matching algorithm is programmed in your brain based upon your jungle life. Reptilian and mammalian brain contributed a lot. So it's all wrong. If you really think about the human history, the modern living is only 10,000 years. Maximum. If you stretch even that 10,000 years, I would not call as modern living. But giving the benefit of doubt, maximum 10,000 years. Whereas the total human history is millions of years. So 10,000 years of that millions of years is a very, very small proportion. So naturally, the larger portion of experience will dominate your program. That is what happens. Scientific explanation of this hijack. So this is the problem. And that same problem is given in the Gita. So this is the lessons. So these automatic thoughts means it has same believable quality as the direct sense of expression. When you have automatic thought, whether that automatic thought is correct or wrong, you feel that that is correct. You feel that the whole world is coming to an end. Even if somebody comes to you and tell that, okay, no, you won't believe it. It is as, remember the example, like the traditional example in the Vedanta, when I see a rope, and if I see that rope as a snake, I believe, I respond, and I am afraid as if I am seeing it. So we always respond to what we see in our mind. We are not responding to what is happening in the world. This is one of the biggest lessons Gita is giving first to you. So if at all there is an error in judgment, I am responding to that error, not the reality. And this is the first step in our self-improvement plan. So we call it as Pradibhasika Satyam to Vyavaharika Satyam. Illusionary reality to relative reality. Relative reality means what? Illusionary reality is also a reality. Because when I see that snake is a truth for me. So if I say that no, there is no snake, no, there is a snake. Whether that snake exists in the real world is a problem, but I see a snake. Remember the two sentences I said? It exists, therefore I see it. What is the second scenario? I see it, therefore it exists. What difference does it make to my experience? Nothing. So this is very important. So these are the verses up to 13. I'm going a little bit fast in the first chapter because we can be enumeration only. Second chapter onwards, whenever we have the solution, we'll try to go a little bit quietly with all the analysis. So a quick recap. So today we saw an enumeration of the negative forces, right? And then the negative forces said, even though we are large in number, these positive forces might be able to contain us. But the best bet we have is keep the ego with myself. So protect the ego. So having said that, what happens? The ego, seeing all these things, sends an automatic thoughts in. That automatic thoughts creates a big mess in my mind. This is the subjective interpretation. The objective interpretation of Mahabharata is Duryodhana said, I too have good people in my army, but that may not be sufficient to defeat Pandava. So therefore, protect Bhishma. Bhishma, hearing this, he blew his conch, and when he blew the conch, everybody in the Kaurava forces was so happy, it created a terrible scene in the battlefield. Now the next verse is what? Just like a modern director introduces the hero,
The other side.
Vyasa introduces Arjuna.
Camera goes to the
Yeah, no. The drama is not a big branch of Sanskrit at that time, but Vyasa brilliantly uses. Like the camera shifts from battlefield to Sanjaya, and here you can see how Krishna is introduced. He first say that 5 horses, 5 white horses he has seen, and then a brilliant chariot. In that chariot, Krishna and Arjuna is coming. Like that, it is coming. And that what is that chariot? The symbolism of that chariot will take 40 minutes and explain. So, Katha Upanishad. Bhagavad Gita borrows a lot of its idea from Katha Upanishad. So, we will see what exactly is the chariot analogy in the Katha Upanishad. Atmanam Rathinam Vitti, Shariram Ratha Evacha, Bhuktimcha Saradim Vitti, Manapragraha Evacha, Indriyani Hayanyahu, Vishayan Gocharai Samam, Atmendriya Mano Buddha. That is the words. So, like that, there is 10 verses. I'll go through the 10 verses so that you will understand who is Arjuna, who is Krishna, who is chariot, and who is the horses, and how to relate all those things within me. Because otherwise, you might be looking for a blue boy Krishna, you will never see that Krishna. Don't tell to these Krishna devotees.
But they say Mahabharata actually happened, right? Like meaning that
It is happening. So, you missed one classes. So that we were talking about that, right? Historically, it happened. So the style of Indian epics are they take Ramayana or Mahabharata and historical event and add the subjective aspect to that. So I'm not questioning the existence of Mahabharata, please.
Because it is listed as
Itihasa means thus it happened.
Yeah.
But of course, the additions and modifications would be there. Even when they made Bahubali, right, the original story, and when it came to the screen, Rajamouli had its own craft. So Vyasa would have definitely added his component. He tells them this happened. So Mahabharata happened. See, go to the Dwaraka, you can see all the archaeological details. So I'm not even questioning anything. These things are history, definitely.
it's like Dan Brown's book, I guess, right?
That's the interpretation of them that's,
Yeah.
it's different. One is we can read it
Yeah.
as just a historical fact.
Yeah.
Or we can look at it and say, okay, it's not just history, but how do we learn it and imbibe it?
Correct. So this charitrium, a word used in our literature, is
What is the word?
Charitrium. Typically, people use that word for the women's purity. That is not the case, right?
Charitra also means history.
Charitra means, so in Vatmiki Ramayana, this is outside of Gita, okay? So anybody wants to do it, you can do it. Just talk about it. You can switch this off also. So what I'm saying is, so in Vatmiki Ramayana, so how the Ramayana starts is very beautiful. Like Narada, Vatmiki goes to Narada, and Narada is described as beautiful, right? Narada means Vatmiki is describing himself as a person committed to dharma. He don't say that he has any other quality. I'm a committed student, and goes to Narada. Narada has 2 qualifications, he tells, right? One is tapaswatyaya niradam, walk vidam vara. Who is tapa? Tapa means it is a word tells that mind, body, and your intellect is committed to one goal. That is tapa, integrated and committed. And then he is walk vidam vara. We can understand the words properly, and he can speak without ambiguity. That is Narada. To Narada, he asks, in means konasmin sambradam loki. In just give me one example in this world. Don't tell me that Vishnu is there, he has this quality. I want to see a human being here in this world who demonstrated good value. And one of the quality he is asking is charitra. Charitra means the definition he is giving is beautiful. One who learned from the past and applied that lessons in his life.
So it's not a direct comparison, the translation of two character.
No, it is you learn the lessons from the history, because if you really look at the world history, you can see the same mistake is happening everywhere. People don't take the lesson. Like if you take the history of Romans, history of America, history, actually one of my friends is doing research on that. The same pattern of mistakes that happened in the history. You can see the same pattern. We think that as a civilization, we always learn from the history and make that correction. So Rama's character is like that. So it's beautiful. This Ramayana has to be read from that perspective. Otherwise, it's like a story. So I was trying to read Ramayana, and I can read only one verse one day because it takes a lot of time, because every word has its depth. Anyway, yes, since you asked for the Charitam, this is the word that comes in. Okay, so that's good. So we will cover next week. We will cover this Ratha Kalpana. We are going nicely with chapter 1. Any questions, please post in the WhatsApp group, have discussion. And if you need anything else, please feel free to ask. Okay, thank you. So we'll start the meditations from October. So we started the kids program today, and now the next one is the meditation.
This program, how do we enroll?
Just tell me or come or go to the website and enroll.
Till